The Brahmaputra has its source in an icy lake called Kubigangri, situated at 82 degrees east longitude in the extreme north of the Himalayas. This river is different from many other rivers in that its place of origin itself is a confluence of many rivers. The icy stream originating in the Kubigangri flows in the southeast direction for 170 meters and takes an easterly course, in which direction it flows about 500 meters before taking a northeast course at 29 degrees 10 Celsius north latitude. After flowing 150 meters in that direction, it flows down fast towards the plains in Assam. Generally speaking, in the plains, the Brahmaputra flows almost parallel to the Himalayan mountain ranges. After flowing about 150 meters from its source, it is joined by two icy rivers called Shorta Sangpo and Nyangso. Within 200 meters of its source, it takes into its fold 5 more rivers: Sunago, Sasu Sangpo, Sata Sangpo, Raka Sangpo, and Kaisu. Out of these, the Sasu and the Sata are big rivers with clear water that originate in the Lake District region of Tibet. Sangpo is a Tibetan word meaning pure or real. Many rivers in Tibet carry the name Sangpo, but not all are connected to the Brahmaputra. The main Sangpo, having links with the Brahmaputra, is known by 3 names in Tibet: Narisu, Moghang Sangpo, and Yaro Sangpo. At 50 miles from the river's source, the Jonglam Road and the Sangpo intersect each other. From Tadum, the road leads 130 meters along the southern bank of the river and enters the Raka Valley. This road ends at the point where the Raka meets the Brahmaputra. Before reaching the 94-degree east latitude bend, the Kaisu cascades down almost 250 meters. The Brahmaputra begins its Indian journey at this point. For 100 meters from this point, the river disappears in the dense forests of the Mishimi and Abor mountains. It comes into good view again in the Dibang Valley. The only fact known about the river in this portion is that at 29 degree 40 Celsius east longitude, it tumbles down 7,000 feet at one go and leads to the formation of many important waterfalls. There is no controversy regarding formation of the actual Brahmaputra with the merger of the Dihong, the Dibong, and Lohit at Sadia. At Naumati in Sadia, the Lohit provides 38,800 cubic feet of water per second to the Brahmaputra. The Dibong releases 27,200 cubic feet. The Dihong releases 55,400 cubic feet, and the Suansiri releases 16,900 cubic feet of water per second. Near Gwalpara, the water flowing out of the Brahmaputra every second is 1,40,000 cubic feet, which is 2 times the water released by the Ganga. From Gwalpara to the Dibong, the river is 700 kilometers long. From the Dibong upstream in the Tibetan region, the river is 1,000 kilometers long. That is, in India alone, the Brahmaputra is 400 kilometers longer than the Ganga. This river is indeed very long if its portion in Bangladesh too is taken into account. The Brahmaputra is ranked among the largest rivers of the world in terms of discharge of water as well as sediment.
sango mo ba sia mi mu ngolo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo Goi golo ni sango mo ba sia mi mu ngolo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo Goi golo ni sango mo ba sia mi mu ngolo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo Goi golo ni sango mo ba sia mi mu ngolo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo Goi golo ni sango mo ba sia mi mu ngolo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo amodite campo redondo campo Goi golo ni
From its source in Tibet to the sea in the south, the Brahmaputra displays varied characteristics and motions. Likewise, its two banks are the meeting points of different castes and communities, varied civilizations, and colorful cultures. Archaeological research has not yet unraveled the complete past of the Brahmaputra Valley civilization. Still, tales from the legends and historical traditions open up doors of memory at the sounds of temple bells. Ages from the forgotten past wake up to the chanting of stanzas from the scriptures and Puranas. Adi, the people of the mountains, who were the absolute rulers of the mountains of the Assamese border for a considerable period of time. Under this name Adi, they are numbered among the scheduled tribes, the tribes officially recognized by the government of India. The scheduled tribes are the result of a policy of protecting tribal territories, an initiative of Prime Minister Nehru that has been continued by various governments of post-independence India in their attempt to preserve the cultural diversity of the various ethnic groups. At times, this has meant closing off of whole areas referred to as restricted areas, denying access to foreigners and even other Indians. Like the Adis, Mishimis are also inhabiting the region bordering Tibet. In fact, this tribe were the absolute rulers of the jungle areas at the banks of the Dihong River. The huts, long construction built on poles and bamboo platforms, are designed to house whole families. These huts have roofs made of palm leaves and thatch. The mighty Brahmaputra is the lifeline of Assamese civilization. It travels into the future through the legends and history of Assam. The mighty river flows majestically and with ease from one end of the state to the other. It flows on continuously, enriching the state's entity, character, lifestyle, and landscape. It is the Borluit that makes inroads ceaselessly into the state's sentiments, literature, culture, and music. Rongdoi Ghat wakes up to the first rays of the morning sun. Not far away, the Brahmaputra makes a noisy preparation for its long journey. The Dihong comes down thousands of feet along mountain paths. The frothy waves of the Lohit draw near joyously. There are strong currents in the bosom of the turbulent Dibong too. This confluence of the three rivers begins its journey as Brahmaputra with the first rays of the morning sun. In the distant west, the setting sun caresses the river. From the south, the sea invites it. The Brahmaputra listens with pricked ears to that invitation and, overcoming the borders of Assam silently, makes its journey into foreign shores along the south. According to archaeological estimates, man first set foot on the banks of the Brahmaputra in the pre-Stone Age. It was the Austro-Asiatics who first established a civilization on the banks of the river. From the northeast, a protracted exodus of Mongoloids began probably in 2000 BC. Along with the flow of the Brahmaputra, continued new settlements on its banks at different points of time till the 13th century. Every race of these explorers brought with them varied traditions of life and culture. The original beauty of the civilization that the Boros spread on the banks of the Brahmaputra, or Bhullungbuttur in their language, still exists in an unblemished form in their tradition. Thus the Brahmaputra has become an integral part of the life, culture and tradition, and has become a catalyst of the economic and socio-cultural growth of all the races and tribes living on its banks. Here, more than 70% of the people depend for their survival on agriculture, mainly growing of paddy, for which the Brahmaputra basin is ideally suited. The mighty river's bountiful nature has made it possible for the people to survive till today, depending only on their traditional tools of agriculture. But this mighty river also causes woe and sorrow to many. Widespread destruction of the forest in its catchment areas has made the subsoil loose and during monsoon, the fast-flowing river washes this away, raising the riverbed. The resultant shallowness causes the river to overflow. The floods destroy the standing crops in vast areas, breach the communication and transport systems, erode embankments and villages, affecting the general well-being of the entire region on its people. But the indomitable spirit of the people overcomes these problems, renewing their zest for life. In the nostalgic pastoral songs of the sons of the Brahmaputra, the Meesings, can still be heard traces of the emotional memories of the days gone by. The mingling of the East and the West gradually gave rise to the Dravidian Mongoloid civilization. Then came the Aryan culture and added new ingredients to this harmony. After coming in contact with the Dravidian Mongoloid way of life, the Aryan religion took to the practice of Tantra. The Kamakya temple on the banks of the Brahmaputra became the seat of this Tantra culture. Spreading far and wide from the center began the cultural dominance of Assam or Kamrupa. Different legends began to evolve surrounding Kamrupa. The imagination of the Aryans found paradise on the banks of Brahmaputra. It was on this Prajyotisha that artists created celestial stars. Kamrup, on the banks of the Brahmaputra, became the seat of goddess worship, courtesy the Aryans. The Brahmaputra also made grand inroads into the mindset, writings and mythology of the Aryans. Assam's Lohit became Brahma's son in Hindu legend. According to Tirtha Kaumudi, several places of pilgrimage remain submerged in the Brahmaputra. According to Hindu belief, the Ganga flows along in an invisible path and merges with the Lohit in the north. Devotees gather on the banks of the holy Brahmaputra on auspicious occasions and take a dip in the river in order to free themselves from all their sins. It was long back Purusukund, at the river's source that carries legends of Purasuram, went under the huge mass of water. But every year during Purasuram Mela near Sadya, devotees come to the spot with full devotion to remember the legend of Purasuram's holy bathing. Taking a dip in the Brahmaputra at Ashokastami in the month of Chaitra brings salvation to the soul. Because of this belief, Ashokastami fairs are held every year at different places on both banks, which reverberate to the prayers of the pilgrims. If the glorious history of the short-lived Koch kingdom that rose in the 16th century in the West is not taken into account, then the history of medieval Assam remains centered round the Ahom rule. The Ahoms, who came in the 13th century and were the last of the Mongoloid explorers to come to Assam, began their glorious 600 years old history in the upper reaches of the Brahmaputra, or in their own language, Nam Dao Phi. Just as the Ahom age was one of material and cultural progress, so also it was an age of victories in the battlefield. Repeated attacks of the Mughals too were repelled at the frontiers of the Ahom kingdom. The tale of Ahom General Lasit Borphokon laying waste to the navy of the enemy from his sickbed has become legendary in Assam's mindset. Along with the armed victories and material progress, emerged the greatest of the great. In the 15th century, Srimanto Sankardev was born on the banks of the Brahmaputra. His new Vaishnavite movement took the form of spiritual, social and cultural renaissance and touched every stratum of Assam's social life. The Brahmaputra Valley in Assam represents one of the most hazard-prone areas in the country. Floods in the region are caused by a combination of natural and anthropogenic factors. The unique geo-environmental setting of the region in relation to the eastern Himalayas, the highly potent monsoon regime, weak geological formations, massive deforestation, intense land use pressure and high population growth, especially in the floodplains, and temporary flood control measures are some of the dominant factors that cause and intensify floods in the Brahmaputra basin. Majuli, the world's largest inhabited freshwater island, has lost almost 50% of its original landmass since the last great earthquake of August 15, 1950, to continuous erosion and floods.
Madirmala Turnam Sa Sakobayana Dunko Katoma Dako Katoma Donama Katoma Dinama Katoma Oya Ana
the Brahmaputra had a very close relationship with this neo-Vaishnavite movement. It was in Majuli, the largest river island in the world, that several Vaishnavite satras were established. With an area of 485 square kilometers, Majuli is still the nerve center for research on Vaishnavite philosophy and cultures. The philosophy of generosity and humanity preached by Shankardev brought about an awakening in everyone. Ajahn Peer, who lived in the Ahom age and was buried at Saraguri Chapuri on the bank of the Brahmaputra, was a true representative of this awakening. The Brahmaputra Valley has always witnessed a tradition of amity, harmony, magnanimity and tolerance. The Brahmaputra's contribution in the progress made by Assam before and after independence was extraordinary, benevolent and limitless. The discovery of coal or black gold, oil or liquid gold, and tea or green gold in the jungles of Assam in the 19th century was equally interesting. The Brahmaputra played a stellar role in helping the state in building an industrial environment with these natural resources. The oil township of Digboy has completed 100 years. The crude oil-based industry in the country has helped Assam to bag an enviable position for itself. On the strength of this industry has grown a wide and modern environment of progress and impressive communication network. Tea was discovered in the jungles of Assam more than 150 years ago. With a 150-year-old history, the tea industry is now like the backbone of the state's economy. Large number of laborers and workers had come to the state's tea gardens sailing upstream along the Brahmaputra. In the tea gardens along the banks of the Borluit, these people evolved a new culture, the culture of the Madol and Jhumu. The Kaziranga National Park is a name known worldwide for the conservation of the one-horned Asian rhinoceros. It also provides a natural habitat for a number of rare, beautiful and endangered species. It spreads over the districts of Nagaon, Golaghat and Sonitpur, with the mighty Brahmaputra flowing on the north and the verdant Karbi Anglong hills on the south. UNESCO declared Kaziranga as a World Heritage Site in 1985, and it is also a part of the Kaziranga Karbi Anglong Elephant Reserve. The Kaziranga National Park is an outstanding site of ongoing ecological and biological processes in the natural ecosystems of several species of plants and animals. It has the world's largest population of Indian rhinoceros, wild buffalo, and swamp deer, and a high density of tiger and significant population of the Asian elephant. The park serves as a habitat of 480 species of birds, including 25 globally endangered and 21 nearly threatened species. Among herpetofauna, different species of snakes, lizards, turtle, and amphibians are recorded. The park also harbors 42 species of fish fauna. It is the two banks of the Brahmaputra that have given life to the dense and enchanting forests of Kaziranga, whose sounds, colors and fragrances have projected Assam as a haven of feelings. However, the Brahmaputra itself is eating into the sanctuary by eroding large areas in the northern fringe of Kaziranga. The regular floods, the unabated erosion, and the continuous silt deposits are destroying large areas of the sanctuary on an annual basis, posing serious threat to the very survival of the many of the wildlife species in Kaziranga. A joint study carried out by the Brahmaputra Board and Indian Space Research Organization has found that between 1968 and 1998, an area of 37.80 square kilometer of Kaziranga Sanctuary has been lost due to erosion. Till 1960, boat was the only means of communication in this mighty river. The Saraighat Rail-cum Road Bridge, opened in 1960, ushered a new era of hope and prosperity to the people of this land, which was further bolstered by more bridges in Bhomoraguri, Jogighopa, and shortly to be in Bogibi. The river is the economic lifeline of the people, and no more is it evident than at Dhubri, where bamboo products, cattle and items of daily use form major trade items with areas across the river. Sangpo, Brahmaputra and Jamuna, three names of a single river. Tibet, India and Bangladesh, three nations, one river. Buddhism, Hinduism and Islam, three beliefs and one river. A mythical spring born in the ice of one of the most sacred regions in the world. A vast torrent of water crossing some of the most inhospitable regions on earth during its journey of almost 3,000 kilometers. That is Sangpo of Tibet, Brahmaputra of India and Jamuna of Bangladesh. Yes, a mysterious river, full of history, a river which has 1,000 things to tell us about the people who came at different times and settled by the banks of the river. The trials which they endured, the pilgrims who cleansed themselves in its waters, quarreling gods on its banks, varied tribes and pioneers of the tea plantations, the dead whose ashes drift on the current and are dissipated in the oceans, also fed by the innumerable tributaries on either bank. The Brahmaputra is an unfailing symbol of harmony in Assam. It is the symbol of Assam's life, heritage and culture. The Borluit is also the eternal symbol of Assam's relentless merger with the ocean called India.